Your skin is not a paper, don't cut it. Your face is not a mess, don't hide it. Your size is not a book, don't judge it. And your life is not a film, don't end it. Imagine yourself standing on the top of a high bridge. You take a deep breath and you leap to your death. By doing that, you are making a permanent solution to a temporary problem. My topic for today is all about suicide attempts. Suicide is an act of an individual taking own life intentionally. It is one of the effects of mental health illness, substance use and impulsivity, bipolar disorder, and depression. In Philippines, around 2.2 deaths relating to suicide were recorded per 100,000 inhabitants in 2019. That is usually caused by self-harm had nearly doubled during the global pandemic in 2020. The PSA, or Philippine Statistic Authority, reported that more people died by suicide last year as the pandemic began and dragged on. It took the lives of 4,420 people died last year, 2020, on suicide compared to 2,810 deaths on 2019. And globally, 800,000 people die every year. The common causes of suicidal feelings which a person struggling to cope with certain difficulties in life can cause to feel suicidal. These difficulties may include mental health illness, bullying or discrimination, including racism, different types of abuse, including domestic, sexual, or physical abuse, including losing a loved one to suicide, the end of relationship, long-term physical pain or illness, adjusting to a big change such as retirement or redundancy, money problems, housing problems, including homelessness, isolation or loneliness, being in prison, and feeling inadequate or a failure, addiction or substance abuse, pregnancy, childbirth or postnatal depression, doubts about your sexual or gender identity, cultural pressure such as forced marriage, and other forms of trauma. I have this story of mine. I have read it in Google. There was a woman named Laura Perry. Looking back to her 15-year-old self, she couldn't see light and hope and only saw darkness and despair. She made a decision after years of feeling lost to take her life. Her life at 15 seemed so complicated and she couldn't handle the pain she was feeling. She felt alone, no one to talk to. In those days, we didn't talk about depression. It was a taboo. Taboo means the intense cultural prohibition of suicide forms, a potential barrier to any open or uncritical attitude. Lara put her face mask on and portrayed the happy girl. Her life seems like a merry-go-around and not in a fun way. I am sure most of us have been on one. The ups and downs in a circular motion. Lara felt like the ride would not stop. She couldn't get off. It kept going around the pain. Every day she woke up telling herself, okay, Lara, one more day. If it doesn't get better, that's it. Then she started telling God, okay, God, if it doesn't get better tomorrow, then that's it. I'm done. She got to the point one cold day in February that she had enough. She was sitting in health class. Their teacher gave them an assignment. Write your own obituary. Then Laura wrote a goodbye letter. She felt such a sense of relief to know that she had finally decided. Laura remembered this conversation with God. She cried a lot. She remembered this one moment where she just fell to her knees. She cried out to God, Help me. I'll do whatever you want if you just help me. She just felt she just felt these arms just wrap around her. She asked God for forgiveness. It was the day that Laura asked Jesus into her heart. She felt a peace in her side. After returning to school the following week, she was walking down the wall. Her friend stopped her and asked if she had heard about Sarah. Sarah was their classmate who had been fighting leukemia. Her classmate let her know that Sarah had lost her fight. All Lara could think about was that a few days ago, she was fighting to die. And she was fighting to live. It was that moment that she knew that she has given a second chance to live. She felt so guilty and ashamed. She knew she had to not waste the time. She wasn't sure what her journey would look like, but she knew she had to figure it out. Her quote in life was, I will be the person to walk alongside, lean on, and in some cases, I will carry. Until my last breath, I will use this life to shine the light of hope. Fast forward to the present. Her journey was being a roller coaster. She had a lot of therapy that provided her tools to navigate life. She ended up going into mental health field for a little while to help others. She hoped that she had provided a lighted path for people. She gave her clients her soul and her heart. As she writes, she thinks of the word hope and the focus she wants to strive for as she continues this opportunity God has given her. Hope, H stands for helping, O stands for others, P stands for plan, and E stands for existence. According to Laura, we are here for a reason, to walk beside our brothers and sisters. She wants to share the hope that there is hope in darkness. One of the things she remembered the day in the hospital is the footprints poem. She said, God carried me that day and the days that followed. I will be that person to walk alongside, lean on, and in some cases, I will carry. Until my last breath, I will use this life to shine the light of hope. How many of us are an overcomer? How many of us have committed and surrendered our life to God? The story of Laura teaches us a big lesson in life to always find hope in amidst of difficulties. Depression is a serious thing. Yes, we have different stories in life. If you're thinking about suicide, your pain may seem overwhelming and permanent. But there are ways to cope with suicidal thoughts and feelings and overcome the pain. No matter how much pain you're experiencing right now, you're not alone. Many of us have had suicidal thoughts at some point in our lives. Feeling suicidal is not a character defect, and it doesn't mean that you are crazy or weak or flawed. It only means that you have more pain that you can cope with right now. But with time and support, you can overcome your problems, and the pain and suicidal feelings will pass. Some of the finest and most admired, needed, and talented people have been where are you now? Many of us have thought about taking our own lives when we've felt overwhelmed by depression and devoid of all hope. But the pain of depression can be treated and hope can be renewed. No matter your situation, there are people who need you. Places you can make a difference and experiences that can remind you that your life is worth living. It takes real courage to face death and step back from the brink. You can use that courage to face life, to learn coping skills for overcoming depression, and for finding the strength to keep going, remember that your emotions are not fixed. They are constantly changing. How you feel today may not be the same as how you felt yesterday or how you'll feel tomorrow or next week. Your absence would create grief and anguish in the lives of friends and loved ones. There are many things you can still accomplish in your life. There are 5 steps to recover. First is identify triggers or situations that lead to feelings of despair, generate suicidal thoughts such as an anniversary of a loss, alcohol, or stress from relationship. Find ways to avoid these places, people, or situations. Second is take care of yourself. Eat right, don't skip meals, and get plenty of sleep. Exercise is also the key. It releases endorphins, release stress, and promotes emotional well-being. Third is build your support network. Surround yourself with positive influence and people who make you feel good about yourself. Fourth is develop new activities and interests. And lastly is to learn to deal with stress in a healthy way. You know, Lara was right. We are here for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And if in some point something bad happens to your life, consider it as a test for you to be stronger enough. There is a purpose in everything. Now is the time for you to change your life, stay positive, choose the right thought, and be helpful.